Hello and welcome to Moments in History. I'm Linda Shenton-Matchett, author, speaker, and history geek. While researching my stories, I unearth tons of intriguing historical information that does not end up in my books. So I've created this channel so I can share these tidbits with you. I appreciate you stopping by to watch. As a volunteer archivist at the Wright Museum of World War II, I have the honor and fun of accessioning artifacts from all over the globe. Last year, while I was working with the curator to create an exhibit called Shaped by Conflict, we came upon a small stuffed dog named Jiggs. Made of redwood felt, accented with yellow felt on his muzzle, the top of his head, and back, he has a tiny yellow tail. Printed on either side is the U.S. Marine logo and USMCAS/Cherry Point, North Carolina. Really exciting is that the souvenir's original maker tag is still attached to a string tied around the dog's neck, Mascot, Jiggs of the U.S. Marines, along with manufacturing information. A handwritten inscription by the original owner is on the back of the tag and says, "Sent to me in 1942 from my sweetheart." While researching a recent book, I began to follow rabbit trails about dogs that served during World War II, which led me to reports of animals involved in wars throughout history, and ultimately the story of the original Jiggs who served during World War I and became an important symbol to the Marine Corps. See what I mean about those rabbit trails? According to a story on the USMC Press website, we can thank the German Army for the Marine Corps mascot, albeit unofficially to begin with. During World War I, many German reports had called the attacking Marines Teufelhunden, meaning devil dogs. Teufelhunden were the vicious, wild, and ferocious mountain dogs of Bavarian folklore. Soon afterwards, a U.S. Marine recruiting poster depicted a snarling English bulldog wearing a Marine Corps helmet. Because of the tenacity and demeanor of the breed, the image took root with both the Marines and the public. At the Marine base at Quantico, Virginia, the Marines obtained a registered English bulldog named King Bulwark. In a formal ceremony on 14 October 1922, Brigadier General Smedley D. Butler signed documents enlisting the bulldog, renamed him Jiggs, who then became his official duties in the U.S. Marine Corps. By all accounts, Private Jiggs was a hard-charging Marine and as a result was promoted to corporal within 3 months and given shiny new chevrons to wear on his custom-made uniform. On New Year's Day 1924, Jiggs was promoted to sergeant, and in a meteoric rise, he got promoted again, this time to sergeant major 7 months later. Sergeant Major Jiggs' death on the 9th of January 1927 was mourned throughout the Corps. His satin-lined coffin lay in state in a hangar at Quantico, surrounded by flowers from hundreds of Corps admirers. He was interred with full military honors. His replacement, Jiggs II, was a gift from former heavyweight boxing champion James J. Gene Tunney, who had fought with the Marines in France. Throughout the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, the mascots were all named Smedley, a tribute to Brigadier General Smedley Butler, who at the time of his death was the most decorated Marine in U.S. history. In the late 1950s, the Marine Barracks in Washington, the oldest post in the Corps, became the new home for the Corps mascot. Renamed Chesty to honor the legendary Lieutenant General Lewis B. Chesty Puller, Jr., the mascot made his first formal public appearance at the evening parade on July 5, 1957. The current mascot, Chesty the 15th, began his duties in 2018. Tough, muscular, aggressive, fearless, and often arrogant, English Bulldogs are the ultimate canine warriors. And as the Marine Corps website says, English Bulldogs, Teufelhunden, Devil Dogs, they symbolize the ethos of the warrior culture of the U.S. Marines. The Army mascot is the mule, which for those of you who don't know, is a crossbreed between a horse and a donkey. As one site said, it isn't the best looking animal by any stretch of the imagination, nor is it anywhere close to being the most majestic, but all of the things it represents, strength, wisdom, and stubbornness, strike that, determination, sum up the Army as a whole. The reason for the mascot came about because of the Army-Navy football game that has been played since November of 1890. Because of the long history of the mule as part of the Army, there was no question that the mule was the perfect selection. However, instead of selecting a single animal to enjoy some pampered time in the spotlight, the Army would simply select a random mule from the stables to proudly march around the field. This practice went on for about 40 years. If the Army was playing a home game, they'd borrow one from a nearby handler. If they were playing an away game, they'd try to scrounge one up wherever they were, an endeavor not always successful. In 1939, the Army decided to finally settle on an official single mascot. A mule named Mr. Jackson, named for Thomas J. Stonewall Jackson, became the first Army mule. Since then, there have been 17 official mules, with only one, named Buckshot, being female. The current mules are Ranger III, Striker, and Paladin. The Army mules are trained by a cadet mule rider, a part of the spirit support activity of the U.S. Corps of Cadets. Now, according to the Navy, goats make the best pets for a ship's crew and have for centuries. Consider being at sea in the days before refrigeration, and you're short on food. Having a constant supply of milk, cheese, and butter gets you and your shipmates through those long days. Plus, goats eat anything. So rather than needing to store special food, sailors can use pet goats as walking garbage disposals. A popular legend says that a Navy ship once sailed with a pet goat and that the goat died during the cruise. The officers preserved the skin to have it mounted when they returned to port. 2 young ensigns were entrusted with the skin, and on their way to their taxidermist, they stopped by the Navy Academy game to watch the football game. At halftime, for reasons that the legend does not specify, one ensign decided to dress up in the goat skin. The crowd appreciated the effort, and Navy won the game. In 1893, El Cid, which means the chief, a live goat gifted to the Academy from the officers on the USS New York, made his debut as a mascot at the 4th Army-Navy game. Navy won 6-3, so he was adopted as part of the team. El Cid would eventually be renamed Bill after the pet goat kept by Commander Colby Chester, Commandant of the Midshipmen. Over the years, other Bills have come and gone, some more feisty and victorious than others, and some of who would be kidnapped by Army. Team Bill is a group of midshipmen from the Academy who volunteer to take care of the Bill goats, currently numbers 36 and 37, and to transport them from their dairy farm home in Gambrels, Maryland, to the various events. Now, the Air Force was part of the Army until September of 1947, when the division was made a branch of its own. 7 years later, funding was appropriated to construct the Air Force Academy. The site was not completed when the first graduating class entered in 1955, so the group of 306 cadets was sworn in at Lowry Air Force Base in Denver. An interesting aside is that the Air Force turned to Hollywood's film director Cecil B. DeMille to develop the uniform that is still in use today. The Falcon Mascot was selected by popular vote of the Academy's class of 1959, and the first Falcon presented to the Academy on October 5th of 1955 was named Mach 1. Each performing Falcon is given an individual name by its cadet falconer. The current mascot, a female white phase gear falcon named Nova, has been the official mascot since 2020. And last but not least, in 1926, the Coast Guard Academy selected the black bear as its mascot because their bear is bold and tenacious, attributes befitting the Coast Guard and its officers. It was not long before a live cub arrived on campus. She was named Obji, which is short for Objectionable Presence, in deference to the City of New London's popular objection to the presence of a very live bear. According to several sites, Obji lived up to the name, breaking out of her pen, climbing into an officer's new car, and shredding the interior, resulting in being exiled to the Navy Yard in Washington. However, she broke out again, only to be captured on the dock at 2 a.m. after she, quote, destroyed, to wit, one first-class United States Marine who sought to pass the night, unquote. Obji was donated to the Washington Zoo in 1928, replaced by Obji II, who hailed from Michigan, and by all accounts settled down. Cadets took care of Obji, who ate in the cadet wardroom and even showered with the cadets. 31 bear cubs fulfilled mascot duties during the 57 years that the Coast Guard Academy kept a live mascot on campus that were typically housed near the observatory. The last living mascot, a 250-pound black bear named Obji the 31st, was retired to a Widmark Farms in upstate New York in 1984. I hope you've enjoyed today's moment in history. If you'd like to learn even more history, please stop by my blog. It can be found on my website at www.lindashentonmatchett.com. And please consider subscribing to my channel and clicking the bell icon to be notified of new episodes that are generally uploaded on the second and fourth Fridays of every month. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.